Sam Bushman Live, FreedomFest 23 in Memphis, Tennessee. My guest now, Mike Termott, MikeTermott.com, GoldNewDeal.org. Gold New Deal outlines his platform. He's running for president of the United States on the Libertarian ticket. I asked him, would he drop all charges against the Donald? Would he go ahead and not? Look, folks, let the courts do their job. Don't interfere. I told Mike that I'm kind of a libertarian, but I'm a constitutionalist as well. So if you had the Constitution Party and the Libertarian Party merge, I'd probably join.
Sam, I think that makes good sense. I think that constitutionalists are going to be with us in the election cycle. I think the Libertarian Party is going to fight the high charge back toward our Constitution. I think that's the direction we need to go in.
There's so many issues to focus on. One of the issues that I do agree with the Libertarian Party on big time is this no war idea, right? I mean, the Libertarians are just not a hawkish group, right?
We are not a hawkish group. We believe that the hawkish stance of the American militaristic foreign policy is, to be honest, out of touch with the ethics and the values of the American people.
No question. And our whole founding, for that matter.
Well, agreed 100%. And I think that the American public, the American electorate, is ready for a much more robust, much more full-throated anti-war message than they have been hearing lately. Much more ready for that than ever before. I think that you have to admit, not only is our foreign policy out of touch with the ethics and values of the American public, but it would be very difficult to argue these days that the Defense Department is even good at delivering success that the American public would say is in the long-term strategic interest in the United States. You cannot point to military interventions and say, you know, there's an example of something that is in the long-term interest of the United States.
Yeah, Ron Paul talked about the blowback principle. It's real.
It is real. And as good as we are at tactical things, right, as good as our military is at moving people and equipment and taking land and holding it and opening sea lanes and keeping them open, as good as we are even at toppling governments, if you don't mind the secrets eventually coming out, you have to admit,
bring it on. Let it rip.
Notwithstanding all of that, we are not good at achieving things that Americans believe is in our long-term interests.
Well, that's because the general government, the deep state, whatever term you want to use for it, the shadow government, whatever, they're all basically gunning for, filling their own coffers with filthy lucre. They're all gunning for fame, fortune, and prosperity at our expense. And they literally want to move us into a global economy based on the World Economic Forum. That's where they're headed. And you know what? It used to be they did it in secret. Now they're doing it in your face, sir.
They are doing it in your face. Not only are we moving toward a control-oriented militaristic domination by the American government worldwide, but now we are promoting these international organizations and giving them all kinds of leverage over our economy, over our regulatory structures, over how money is moved around the world, how institutions work together, how economic policies are promulgated. I think these are real threats to the way our economy works and ultimately to our way of life.
Amen to that. I've highlighted a few issues that I think are critical to kind of highlight for somebody running for the president of the United States. Yeah, are you just carrying forward the Libertarian General Platform, or do you have specific ideas that you want to focus on?
I have particular ideas that I focus on. I believe that we need institutional level change. I think that means, for example, replacing the Federal Reserve System with a rules-based program.
Would you go back to constitutional currency?
I would go back to absolutely allowing any currency to compete. I would not be optimistic on behalf of other currencies taking down the U.S. dollar, but I would be absolutely open to...
Well, they're working on the yuan taking it down right now, buddy.
I would love a full-fledged competition among currencies, particularly digital currencies, obviously. We need to make sure the Federal Reserve System does not issue its own currency. They are completely poised to do it, as you know well.
Oh, yeah.
They are technologically ready to roll this out on a wholesale level.
What it really means is financial tyranny.
It could absolutely mean financial tyranny. It could also mean tyranny in the form of invading your privacy every which way any type of transaction that you are engaged in, the Federal Reserve System would have access to all kinds of information about each one of those transactions. And no one should believe that the Federal Reserve System would be able to withstand a request from the Treasury Department or the FBI for information about individuals or just wholesale blocks of information.
All right, so we open up a real dialogue about honest money, right?
We open up a real dialogue about honest money.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Next?
Next, I think that we need to sunset a number of organizations that have proven, notwithstanding best intentions, that they cannot live up to the mandate that we have given them. And I would put the FBI in this category.
Heard that.
As a law enforcement officer myself, I appreciate the hard work and dedication of a lot of smart people who want to do the right thing by the American people. But structurally speaking, the FBI is set up in a way that just invites misbehavior. And for this reason, you really cannot point to a point in time during the FBI's existence when you would say that was their golden age. That was the decade when you could trust them, when they were doing the Lord's work, when they advanced American interests without being involved in political escapades. It doesn't seem to matter replacing the leadership at the FBI.
They've been criminal enterprises virtually the whole time.
It's got to go. It has to go. And the flagship of our Gold New Deal is a constitutional amendment to allow states to opt out of federal supremacy and to opt into a program of unilaterally deciding how to resolve conflicts between state law and federal law.
I get that. A lot of people believe that federal law is always supreme, and they take the supremacy clause to extreme views. I disagree with that 100%. In fact, the Sheriff Maat case, where he beat Bill Clinton to the Supreme Court, highlights this. The federal government has no authority over the states. There is dual sovereignty. There are dual jurisdictions. We, the people, created our government. Therefore, the tail cannot wag the dog. And we basically delegated certain authority, limited in scope, defined by lists in the general constitution. And then we said the rest is left at the station of the people. If you look at the supremacy clause, it's pursuant thereto.
Well, you're
pursuant thereof. And so we've already got that if people would understand it. Your point's well taken is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, we need to fight our way back to that. Yes. Folks who have looked at our program and who are want to tease me a little bit have said, well, why don't we just pass the 10th Amendment over again and say this time we mean it? Which I think, would be a lot of fun.
They're right on the point, but your point's valid too, that we got to get back. And you know what? That's where they want to Hail Mary. We got to move the chains.
We got to move the chains. We need to fight our way back to the Constitution. I would argue that we need to fight our way further than just merely back to the Constitution. But that is the direction in which we need to go. We live, arguably, today, Sam, I believe that you would agree with me here, we live in a post-constitutional nation.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of truth to it. And I still hold out hope that we, the people, can bring back the Constitution, even if the federal government melts down, and even though we lose a lot of our way. We could have covenant communities that are constitutional by nature, preparing for Jesus Christ to return. But that's a little bit of a different topic, but I want to hold out hope for that. And that's why I preach restoration rather than revolution.
I appreciate that very much. I do believe that we need to restore our form of government because I believe in the long run, there is no alternative in terms of long-run sustainability.
Yeah, the real libertarians, the anarchists, are finding out there ain't no place to go, is there, buddy?
There is no way to run an economy other than to allow individuals to make decisions for themselves. And to your point, Sam, parenthetically, I believe there is no long-run sustainable alternative in terms of developing our culture and everything that implies, other than allowing people to live their lives by their own standards and to keep public policy away from our culture wars.
Mike Termott with me, ladies and gentlemen, running for president on the Libertarian ticket. GoldNewDeal.org to learn more about what he's doing in his plan. MikeTermott.com is really his website as well. Quick question for you. Will you come back on the radio with me?
I will come back on the radio with you.
Even if people lie to you and tell you I'm a racist?
Even if people lie to me and tell me that you're a racist, we can have that discussion.
So not really. I just happen to be white.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't noticed that until just now.
Oh,
but
good,
now,
because I don't even know what color you are, and I don't care.
Now that you point that out,
Yeah.
you are white. I hadn't noticed. I apologize
Yeah,
for not noticing that about you
That's
earlier.
correct. You should notice that first and foremost. In fact, it's the only thing you should notice.
We can thrash that out. If I were a Democrat, I would have noticed it and logged it in my quota book right
and
away.
treated me accordingly.
And treated you accordingly.
You know what? Hey, can you skip the break, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead and skip the break. So, Mike, what kind of free speech should be suppressed?
No free speech should be suppressed. As a matter of
What if I want to
fact,
yell fire in a crowded theater?
Yeah, you go ahead. I reserve the right to smack you in the mouth. By the way, I believe
I love it
that we need a much more robust 1A than we have
Roger that.
had
Amen.
up until now. You know, Sam, it's long tradition for us, especially in my generation. It's long tradition for families to pass down from one, from parent to child to grandchild. The idea that we believe in separating church and state. And I believe that it's high time for us to honor the separation of science and state. Separate technology
So you're saying
and
Fauci
state
couldn't just,
in the same way that we honor the separation of religion and state.
All right. Would you lock up Hillary? Would you put Fauci in prison?
I would allow the courts to prosecute Hillary in any way that the court deemed appropriate. And if she were found guilty by a jury of her peers, by the way, a jury of her peers is a strange concept in Hillary's case.
Is a vital concept. That's why we need a fully informed jury.
But it is a vital concept, and we need a more robust jury that is able to set aside unfair and unethical and unconstitutional laws
and reject
well.
belligerent rogue edicts as well as they become activists from the bench. All right, what about Fauci? Would you arrest the Fauci?
I would absolutely tease out what the hell went on there in terms of the suppression of information. This is an important example where I believe that the United States government would have been a much greater servant to the American public if it had stayed out of not only the development of the vaccine and the distribution of the vaccine, but arguably even more importantly, distributing information about the vaccine and suppressing information about the vaccine. I believe that our government needs to stay out of science.
Amen to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're flat out of time. Mike Termott with me. You got my contact information. Call me. We'll have you on later as you continue to gear up for president. We'll have a longer format then. Right now, I'm just trying to, interview so many people that I can from the conference, but we'll get back to you a longer format and drill into this in a whole lot more detail. It's intriguing, Mike, because usually libertarian candidates are kind of off the rails in some ways, but you seem to have a unique balance that I enjoy. MikeTermott.com.
Sam, it's been a great pleasure, but
Thank you, sir.
Just remember that just because you and I, agree on everything doesn't mean that we're right.